Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Real Talk 447. I'm Jeff Emig. Of course, I'm joined by Ricky Carmichael coming to us from his home in Florida, the rec room there. We got little Ricky up on the bar, hanging out. How's it going, man?
Dude, it's good. I'm glad to be talking to you, of course, and we're gonna have a good show. I'm really looking forward to it. We got a lot of great questions that we're gonna cover today. Obviously, we're gonna rehash what happened this weekend. It's gonna be in Houston, a lot of fun, a lot of drama, some turning points, in my opinion, for this championship, Monster Energy Championship, both classes, 450, 250, and yeah, it's good. Actually, I was anticipating it to be a little bit warmer here in Florida this week, but here in Tally, man, it's pretty nippy, man.
It's beautiful in SoCal. We've had a horrible winter, but it's nice. Not like our buddies there in Charlotte. There'll be no tennis playing at lunch there. A little bit of snow going on. Hey,
That's
the fans are stoked, dude. You're starting to get your mic figured out. It actually sounds pretty good now, too.
I told one guy commented in and he said it was a little bit too hot. We're still working on that. Like I said, one day, you know, we're low budget right now. Okay, we have no sponsors other than Fro and myself's pocketbook. So right. Anybody who wants to sponsor this podcast, more than welcome. We'd love to have you. I think we'd be great ambassadors for your brand. So we're looking. We'd be happy to promote.
Hey, and if there's any audio technicians that are moto fans, they're in the North Florida region, Southern Georgia, they're welcome to come on down. Maybe give them free day at the goat farm, free day of riding at the goat farm if they dial in.
Just one day, you know. So, but another reason that obviously I'm not in a studio like you, Jeff, but just so people know, I mean, I could go to a studio. However, I think people want to see the rec room, and it's a good backdrop.
It is. Well, so I caught up on the Triple Crown there from Houston this weekend. Houston's always good racing. The dirt there is fantastic. I was really impressed with the type of action that we had because of the dirt and the Triple Crown format. I've been on the fence about the Triple Crown. Okay.
Really? Why?
Well,
what's your explanation for that?
Because it cuts off the amount of riders. And you know, man, there's so many guys that are like the 22 through 40 or even 45 or so that are making the night programs for every race, and you know, these guys, they don't have their opportunity. Their opportunity is qualifying, so it cuts out another layer of opportunity. And you know, I've always been a big fan of the last chance qualifier, things like that, and we don't see that. But the flip side is this weekend, man, the racing was badass. We had in the 250 class, in Cirillo, the points leader, dude, the guy's going down all over the place. If there were passing points, he would have already won the championship. You had the Yamaha boys step up. It was just really interesting. You know, I'm not a big fan of the track designs like they are in the stadiums, especially where you come across the first turn area when it's a 90 first turn. And these guys take these small jumps and then have to jump into these rhythm sections with a lot of speed. Man, it's gnarly. The timing and the talent that these guys have to have and the risk that's involved is really high. So there was a lot of like things where if I wanted to complain and just whatever, I would. But man, the racing was so good. And, you know, it's still, the Triple Crown is heavily based on the start. But
Hold up. You say it's based on the start, but Detroit, I mean, Eli Tomac came from so far back in 10 minutes. Dylan Ferrandis came from way back.
Well, see, there you go.
And finished second. So sometimes I'm with you. It is hard to pass. However, when you find a way to get it done, you do. But I'm glad that you
know when it's hard to pass is when you're not faster than the guy in front of you. Right?
Pretty much.
It was like, man, it's so hard to pass. Go faster, and it won't be. But you know what I'm also surprised specifically on the tracks is these bikes that either 250 or 450, these bikes go across the whoops really good. We've had these whoop pads where there's like 10 whoops. Dude, they're having to jump through them lately. like you would think these bikes would just get on top and go. You'd think Dean Wilson with his long legs, we got a question later on about that. Like, it's getting pretty gnarly. Like, Muscan almost went down in the whoops. Webb had a couple of close ones. Like
close ones, dude. I thought he was done.
Yeah.
He in the warm up practice. I think you were on a group text. Oh no, we weren't. The group text we had between our buddies. Yeah, dude. He went down. He missed one of the whoops with the front end towards the end. Bike went over. He went down. The bike clobbered him, dude, in his left leg, I believe it was. No, right. I can't remember. Anyhow, it got caught in between the rear wheel and the swing arm, and it was stuck. They could barely get it out, and the exhaust pipe, the exhaust can was burning him, and that was a warm-up practice. So he had a lot of challenges this weekend. But, dude, that was right off the bat. I'm surprised there hadn't been any more video of it floating around. Dude, it was – I mean, it could have been season-ending right there.
Yeah. Well, the racing was fantastic. Obviously, the two riders that are stealing the show are Red Bull KTM riders with Webb and Muscan. I mean, they got to go. Their locker, their like changing area inside of the 18-wheeler is like right next to each other. Like it's getting intense. But, I mean, dude, they're both racing for the championship.
Well, this is what I'm glad. I'm going to love having this conversation with you, and I think our listeners are going to love it too. Well, first of all, how you could never even like the Triple Crown format is beyond me.
I started to go down the not liking it, but I'm 50-50. But I'm leaning more.
When has it disappointed you?
Well, if you remember what I just said, is the reason that why I'm not further towards your direction is because it cuts off some of these riders. I love seeing some of these support riders and the privateers. I love seeing them get their shot. So we don't do that. They have their shot earlier in the day, and the LCQ for qualifying in the Triple Crowns has been pretty good every week, but we don't see that on the NBC broadcast. So that's all.
Yeah, I love it. But going back to the teammates, everybody wants to talk about teammates. Marvin Muscan and Cooper Webb. For me personally, Jeff, I think there's been all this buildup, especially the last couple weeks. Marv has won 2 in a row. This would have been his third if he had pulled off the hat trick this weekend. Obviously, he didn't. But I believe in that first main event, for a lack of better words, the top came off the pot.
Oh yeah. Sure. Oh, they were. I mean,
it was a battle of the minds.
It was, and it was
a battle. It was a battle of the minds. One guy, Marvin, was saying, "Dude, this is my championship," and Cooper Webb is saying, "The hell it is. This is mine." And they were going to go back and forth until the score was settled. And in my opinion, Cooper Webb won the battle. And
it's a battle of wills right now. Like this is beyond bike setup. This is beyond speed or lap times or whatever. It's digging deep and who wants it the most. I was really impressed with Muscan all night long. The guy was on the ground 3 times. I mean, if you took the amount of time that he lost in all of those falls and all those situations, I mean, but he was passing guys left and right, even when he went down. I mean,
you said the starts are important, though.
Yeah, but he didn't win. He didn't win the overall because of it, did he?
Well, he didn't win the overalls because he got pushed off the track.
Yeah.
He got pushed off. I think he went. What did he go? 3, 2, 1. Did he go? No, he got 5th because he fell at the end.
He fell.
That's right. I don't have my.
The one race,
yeah,
right?
Remember he got knocked off track by Dean Wilson. He went to the outside on the whoops, and Dean hit his shoulder, and off he went. So did he go? Did he go 5, 2, 1 maybe?
Shit, I gotta pull it up. I got the research department email right now.
Whatever, man. You don't know what you're doing.
Let's see. Muscan goes 5-3-1.
5-3-1. Okay, pardon me. So, yes, he is riding fantastic. However, he still didn't do what he needed to do, and it manifested a little bit. He made several mistakes after Cooper Webb gave him the business and put him off the track. But my point is is that was a battle of the minds. And Jeff, I would love to hear your insight on this. It was a battle of the minds, and for me, that was hey, I'm here to win this championship, and you're not. And it was back and forth, and ultimately, Cooper Webb won that mental battle, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that if you look at the last few years when Musquin has been exceptionally fast, and he seems to, at this time of the year, he really starts to get it together. But I don't know if it's mental toughness or what. I feel like Musquin has been pretty strong, but Webb is just on another level. I mean, you see him on those shots on TV where he's setting on the starting line, right? And he's got his goggles off. The look on his face, the intensity, I think is just next level. I mean, he is, and he's a real scrapper. And the fact that this year he's just turned it on. And what's interesting also is, man, these last couple of weeks since Daytona, Tomac hasn't looked like that fire, that desire, that like confidence, something that's like kind of a combination of things. I wouldn't pinpoint it to be one thing. He just hasn't had it,
Well, yeah, no,
dropped.
he hasn't.
I mean,
I don't know what's going on there, and it's so hard to to get this information out of the guys. Yeah. It really is. So who knows? But I don't think he's clearly not the guy, and clearly can't get on the runs that he once was able to the last several years, or a couple years, I should say. So and people have to understand that. Now, is he the same guy, or have these other guys stepped up? That's to be determined. But definitely, it was not sure what happened that first. Was it the first main where it's just like he rolled out up the face of the triple? I'm going to go ahead and give him the.
Yeah, what the hell happened there? Was he not comfortable to jump the finish? The finish line was a triple. So did he like feel like, hey, I didn't have a right angle, or I'm like.
Let's just give him the benefit of the doubt and think that maybe he was worried he was going to collide with Marvin.
Or he's going to do like riders do sometimes when there's an inside turn. They'll race to the loop.
Yeah.
It was super weird. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, I watched it and I was like, and then I rewound it and I'm just like, I don't really have an explanation for that. You would have to talk to him about it. And I mean, Musquin was way on the right even.
Yeah. So going back to Cooper and Musquin, I really think that definitely Marvin. He made a good move on Cooper. Right there is the second turn after that rhythm section before the whoops. I don't know. I need to see the replay. I haven't really saw a good replay of that from multiple angles. I don't know that it was clearly a super aggressive move, overly aggressive move, but the fact is Cooper wasn't happy about it. And you know what? He's like, the hell with this. I'm not happy with it, and this is how I'm going to show you I'm not happy with it. And he kept giving Marv the business, and Marv really didn't do anything back. He never had the opportunity. He tried, and
Marvin was pretty aggressive with the other riders. Yeah. But not with Webb. He couldn't quite get there. But their corner speed, and when those guys were behind somebody, they would show the rider in front of them, show them a wheel, corner after corner after corner. It was like, okay, I got the one turn on the track. I'm going to wait until this turn. It was like every corner they were like in there. Even if they were late and they weren't going to make the pass, Musquin and Webb were like charge. Those guys it was insane. And both those guys, to their credit too, they have that ability to get on the inside, and you know how the ruts start to go from outside having a nice sort of arc around the berm, and they cut down. Both those guys will come into that inside rut and pivot and still accelerate and like triple out of the turn better than anybody else. I mean, and this is something that I think over the past 5 or so years that Ryan Dungey did really well. So I wonder if there's some sort of connection with everything that happens at Rebel KTM and where they're training and the team and everything, that they say, when we come into these turns, we got to be able to get on the front of the bike, pivot around, and accelerate out,
Yeah, you know what Daniel Blair was saying, we were kind of downloading, and he thinks that because you watch Cooper Webb, and especially that right-hander before the finish line corner, he looks like he's going so slow, but going back to what Daniel says, Daniel thinks that Cooper is a point and shoot kind of guy. You are very similar riding style that way.
Yep.
And he feels that, where I feel like Marvin carries a lot more momentum through the center of the corner than Cooper does, but maybe might not have as much straightaway speed as Cooper. So it's interesting. However, going back to the KTM, Jeff, I'm with you. Here's my thing, not to discredit any other teams in the paddock or personnel. I think there's a lot of talented guys on these race teams. You know that. We've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of the guys. Mm-hmm. But KTM and that whole Husqvarna, Red Bull KTM, Rockstar Energy Husqvarna team, they are the most recent champions, multi-time champions.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, KTM is a parent company. Husqvarna is a secondary brand. The race teams, they're two different race teams, but they do race. Probably the technical side of things are shared. Yeah, they're
sharing notes. That's right. So, and then with Cooper Webb having, I just drew a blank. Carlos. Yes, Rivera. Carlos. Yeah, Carlos Rivera.
As his mechanic.
He is a multi-time champion as a mechanic. He is Ryan Dungey's mechanic through all his success at Red Bull KTM. That has to be an advantage. It just has to. They're telling the right things. The whole team back at the truck, the technicians, they know where they need to be all the time, and they are the most recent champions. And I think, the results speak for themselves. They're 1 and 2 in the championship, and they've won how many of the last Monster Energy Supercross championships since?
Yeah, and that's an interesting thought. There were guys back in the days, Brian Lunas, who won championships with Hanna and Johnson, won a bunch of races with Bradshaw. Mike Gosler, who worked with you for a while, had multiple.
Steve Lamson.
Steve Lamson, and then on. And yeah, what the mechanic can bring to the table is really important. I mean, I know I worked with Steve Butler earlier in my career. Then I worked with Jeremy Albrecht in the mid to late 90s. And then he went on to work with James Stewart, right? So he won championships at Monster Energy Kawasaki with 2 riders. And sometimes that element of what the team aspect of the rider mechanic kind of gets overlooked. But they're the last person giving you those words of advice and words of encouragement or whatever on the track. They're holding the signboard, So it's an interesting element how what experience Carlos Rivera could bring Webb. So,
yeah, that's my opinion. Let's just put it this way: Cooper Webb isn't in a sucky situation. He's in one of the best situations.
That's a soundbite. That's soundbite right there. That's making the highlights next.
They got the resources, and it's tough because, man, there are a lot of good technicians at these other manufacturers. There really are, and but these guys got it going on, man. I'm telling you.
Yep. Well, hey, so Roczen won a race. It was really exciting. Then, unfortunately, he crashes off the start because the start's not that important. So, right, that doesn't make any difference. But he was back in the pack, mid pack going into the turn. Has another one of those get-offs where he's done that before, where he steps off the bike, hurts his foot. So did he break his toe or something?
I don't know if he's broken his toe, but dude, that guy was on rails all day, Jeff. I mean, fastest in QP, and he put 10 seconds on the guys that first main event, and oh man, he's finally going to get it. Just looked effortless, like the Kenny that we know and love so much. And he went down, but the reason he went down is he locked bars, I think, with Dino, maybe.
He got into the back tire of Wilson in the first turn. He
locked. I think he locked with Dino and then got behind, and he just didn't get the jump that he needed to. And he got behind Dean's Wilson, lost his balance, and went down. And honestly, dude, I think that's the first time I've seen him crash since he did his wrist in San Diego last year.
Well, the analysis on the NBC broadcast wasn't good on that highlight on the start, so I don't know. I kept waiting for the announcer to really break it down.
It's a good thing that I don't work the cameras. So,
hey, so another rider who really had a great day great night was Dean Wilson. He goes 3.25 and gets a podium for Rockstar Husqvarna And once again, just like last year, he's a fill-in rider, and he goes and gets a podium. He's like, man, these guys are so used to being up here. He's like, he goes, I'm just stoked to be up here. These guys are like nothing. He goes, I'm so excited. So,
well, he was riding good in qualifying practice. He was P2 overall qualifying practice, and actually the last 2 weeks he was fast. Last weekend he just wasn't able to. He wasn't able to get the job done. His box score didn't really reflect on how well he was riding. I had a chance to talk to him, and he's been fighting a little bit mentally. He knows that he has the speed, but his mind plays games with him a little bit. He was talking about for the main event, so he's working on that. I respect him for doing that and admitting that, and the work that he's doing is clearly helping. He got on the box against the best in the business, and it's cool to see. Why wouldn't you be happy for the guy? It's such a feel-good story.
Yeah, he's the feel-good story like every year for 5 years. He's the feel-good story, then the disappointment, and then he does this. And I feel like he's always done everything that he needs to do outside of the injuries. And then so he gets injured, and then he was in an interesting place with Rockstar Husqvarna as far as they had budget for 2 riders. They both were 2 guys that you would have on the team. I mean, the reigning champion, a reigning 250 champion. There just wasn't space for him. And then he made the decision to stay on the same machine, and just like we've seen so many times in Supercross, we lose a rider or 2, and all of a sudden a ride opens up. But I would like to see him with more, have the companies, the teams have a little more faith in him that he's gonna be here for a while.
I wonder, like, what is it gonna take for that guy to get a shot on the factory team? And when he does have that shot,
he's had it, but then he's lost it.
Okay, but this is what I want to ask you. Like, why does he lose it? Do you think that he races differently doing it on his own than he does when he's in the rig? Like, tell me why he loses it, and now, tell me that. What's your analysis on that? Why can't he hold it down? Now, I know he's been plagued with injuries when he's been in the rig. So what does he got to do to?
Well, I was going to save it as a surprise, but we're actually going to have Dean Wilson as a guest on Real Talk here in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
So we'll ask him.
Hey, I love surprises.
Why don't you send your question to at Talk447 on Twitter, and Ricky, I'll try to get your question on air.
Okay, perfect. So let's move. Hey, Dino, pump for him. Dylan Ferrandis, hell of a run. AC, I know you want to talk about that. I want to get through this so we can get to the questions. Yeah. Are you okay with that, sir? I know you're conducting this.
No. I just the information from the research department is really long, and we got a lot to talk about today.
Dude, Dylan Ferrandis, awesome ride. Awesome ride. AC, I loved his post race. He admitted to himself, hey, I could sit here and blame this guy for falling in front of me, blah, 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 but he didn't get a start. And he was a victim of circumstance. I would like to give him kudos, however, because he didn't freak out when he didn't get a bad start. He just got gobbled up by he was a victim of circumstance. So really impressed. He's made massive gains this year. And it's cool also to see Dylan Ferrandis doing well. It's coming right down to the wire, bud. It's going to go to Vegas.
Yeah, Nichols had a good ride and a great podium interview. He's the best podium interview that we have right now, I think. AC's been pretty sharp, but it's definitely between those 2 guys. But I will say, Cianciarulo, he almost took a nut shot when he went down after the finish line. I forget who it was that hit him. He almost took a nut shot. And if you guys want to see the worst one that I can remember in history, it was early
John Dowd, Binghamton.
Yep, Brian Manley. John Dowd triples down that thing or doubles down, whatever it was, and hits Manley, and just right between his legs. Manley told me that he actually shit his pants when that happened.
Come on.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, hey, it happens. You're not the only one.
No,
okay, you don't have the exclusive.
I did it.
On shitting your pants.
I did it like 2 or 3 times in one lap. So
no, yeah, Manly just the one hit. So we'll try to. Yeah. We'll see if somebody can find that clip and send it to us on social media. We'll repost it. All right. So 250 class, really exciting. The Supercross research department I asked him for a little bit of information, literally driving down here. So this is a last chance entry here.
Jeff didn't have time to ask him like throughout the weekend
Well, it
or
just hit me.
all day yesterday.
He's so good. The research department comes up with such great information. So. But it just wasn't something, what he had sent through wasn't something that I felt like fit our show. But, so he did come through as always, so bear with me. This is a little bit long. My eyes are bad. Don't know if I can see it all properly.
And you're colorblind.
And I'm color, yeah, but this is black, white, and gray, so I'm good. All right, okay. So by all accounts, our points leader, Cooper Webb, is having a remarkable season. With 13 rounds complete, the North Carolina native is firmly in command of the championship, holding a 17-point lead over Muscan with just 4 rounds remaining, and Webb leads all riders with 6 wins. What makes the riders' accomplishments even more remarkable is that this has seemingly come out of nowhere. In his 3rd season in the Premier class, in Webb's first 2 450 seasons, he finished 13th and 9th in the championship with only 1 podium finish each year. And both seasons were either interrupted or shortened by injuries, as he made only 25 of 34 starts in the first 2 years. So when Webb started 2019 with a 5th place finish at Anaheim 1 and followed that up with a 10th place at round 2 in Phoenix, few took notice. Webb sat 8th in the championship heading into the Triple Crown race at Anaheim 2, and when he took the overall win that night, and then he took the overall win for his first career victory, it seemed like an outlier. You know what that is, Ricky?
I do, but I was wondering if you want me to read this for you. You're skipping a lot of words.
Yeah, a couple. I'm just shortening it up. But since round 3, Webb has torn through the 450 class with 10 top 5 finishes and 11 starts, 9 podiums, 6 wins at Anaheim 2, Oakland, Minneapolis, Arlington, Atlanta, and last week in Houston. He took the points lead for good after his win in Arlington, and this week in Nashville will be the 6th consecutive race that he has had the red plate on his number 2 KTM. Okay, here's the last little bit.
Jeez, you gonna read this whole thing?
Yeah, dude. He delivers. People like this info. So Webb's 6 wins this season after coming into the season with 0 wins is one of the most remarkable accomplishments in Supercross history. The research department went back and looked at all riders with 5 or more career wins to find the most wins a rider had ever earned in his first season of winning races. And the answer is McGrath, who burst onto the scene in the Premier class with 10 wins in 93.
He beat you that year, right?
He did 10 times. Well, no, probably every time, but on his way to the first of his 7 championships. Next is Chad Reed, you love it, who won 8 times in his rookie season in 2003 as he finished up 2nd in the championship, just a few points behind eventual champion Ricky Carmichael. Webb's 6 wins are tied for 3rd all-time with 2 other all-time greats. Bob Hanna won 6 times in 1977, his first of 3 championship seasons, and Ryan Dungey won 6 times in his rookie year of 2010. Okay.
Dude, you wore out. That's a lot of reading.
All right. Okay, so any final comments on that?
Oh, he's having a remarkable year. From a stats standpoint, though, I think he's had a lot better luck in closed stadiums than he has open air stadiums. And the rest of the series is racing open air stadiums. Nashville, Denver, New Jersey, and Vegas. So it's going to be interesting to see what can happen. The weather could play a big issue, obviously.
Have you checked the weather?
No. Well, you always check the wrong app. Remember that time we were going on a weekend, like a long weekend, and you're like, oh, dude, it's going to suck all week. It's going to rain. It never rained one time.
Hey, everybody go on your handheld device or your desktop and pull up Nashville and the 10-day forecast. It's going to start raining Thursday. Saturday and Sunday will be thunderstorms, flanked by 2 more days of rain after that.
Okay, let me ask you this. What is the rain percentage for Saturday on your clock?
I don't have a clock. I just went to the iPhone app.
It's a 40% chance on Saturday. So that means there's a 60% chance it won't rain.
If it was one day, I would say, okay, something may have a chance of hitting. Dude, it's bookended with 2 days of rain on each side.
That just means the weather guys are just covering their bases.
Okay, well, we're gonna find out. We'll talk about it next week. We'll talk about it next week. So you don't give a shit. You're in a dry TV booth.
Hey, listen. Why don't you just go ahead and gloat a little bit right now, okay?
About
and just
what?
Tell everyone about the radio communications, Twitter.
Well, no, I'm not going to gloat on it, but I do think that it's interesting.
You're not for it, and that was the winner.
No, because you're in the right situation. So we'll talk about that. So last week we talked about radio communications for the rider because of the crash with Reed and Brayton and the other guys. So we did that poll on Twitter. It was 1 day poll. We appreciate everybody chiming in. So the results were, and you could go up to the @Talk447 on Twitter and see this. 41% of the fans said no to radio communications. 25% said yes, but only one way. So someone talking to the rider. And then 34%, which is what you wanted, is a two-way. The rider can talk back also.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What if you just put yes and a no column and didn't give them? See, you wanted more people to say no, but technically
it would
be 59% of the people voted yes for radio communication.
Who's gloating now?
Well, I just realized this.
So
you set them up. You set them up by the poll that you did. You just didn't go yes, no.
Well, because there were more ways to look at that. So, two comments here on Twitter. One was Good Karma 1968. Husband voted two-way radio. Me, I want to know, at the level of intensity these riders ride and the need to control their heart rates and all the other things they focus on, wouldn't having to talk and listen possibly be too distracting and become dangerous for them? And then the second one was Bighorn 702, says one way by race director only for emergency purposes only. Let the racers figure out what the hotlines are. So
I raced the Prelude to the Dream charity race, Tony Stewart's charity race, in a dirt car. Awesome event, by the way. You should check it out on YouTube. And that's how it was. You had a spotter. Yeah, I think it was two-way, I believe. However, the race officials could chime in and tell you, hey, caution's out or whatever. So
yeah, but car racing has had a spotter. Like, you have that communication. That's part of it. And I don't know if it's just our races are too quick. This is 2 wheels versus 4 wheels.
Yes, Bighorn 702. Yes, that would be pretty. That was helpful. I can speak from experience. That was great. We could have that. That could also be in the mix.
So why not just have one of the people that chimed in was, why not just have a light or something on the bars that something flashes when there's a situation like that? Because I think it all stemmed from the safety of jumping through the rhythm section on the Red Cross flag. Okay, it wasn't about, hey, these riders need to have an eye in the sky to help them pick out lines or talk race strategy. Like, that's what the pit board area is. So essentially it'd be doing away with the pit board and making it audible, which would change it. I would not be at all for two-way.
No, I never said two-way last week.
I did.
I said one-way.
Okay.
But I'm all for it one way where the guy could talk. And the only reason I feel like, to answer Good Karma 1968, I don't feel that it would be as much of a distraction as what you think. I've tested it on numerous people at the goat farm, and everyone that I talked to, when it's working properly, everyone that I've talked to said that it was a plus and not a distraction. I mean, you're not going to be talking to your rider in an area where it's going to take full-blown concentration, like going through the whoops or going through a corner. Most of the time you're going to be talking to your rider on a short shoot, meaning a short straightaway, or in the air of a triple, something like that nature. So
yeah, but in this situation, like in NASCAR, where it's like, hey, you need to take the low line, or you need to do this, and you're clear high, it'd be like, hey, he's coming down the inside, like it's like another part of the performance of the rider. I don't know. That just seems.
Have you ever done it? Have you ever
I'm
used it? Have you ever used it?
No.
Okay, well then I have. You haven't. Let's just stop right
why
there
don't
before you embarrass yourself to all of our listeners.
I say that we need to incorporate it into the Monster Energy Cup.
You're allowed to do that. No one chooses to do it.
Why not? If it's so
that's
fucking
their
great.
That's their loss. I know how good it is.
All right.
That's their loss.
So if you still had RCH going, you guys would be.
Oh, dude, I'd be 100%.
Would it be like in Daytona? Would you have told Tickle, hey, if you go any slower through this turn, you're gonna fall over?
Of course I would have. Dude, you got to pick it up in the corners. You're going too slow.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for their comments on that.
Thanks for supporting Fro. I see
you've already added it up. You've already added it up. You're saying that the results.
Yeah, you tried to bait them, is what you tried to do. Yeah. Don't play stupid with me, clown.
The problem is I'm not playing stupid. This is just how it is, I think.
No, you baited them up, giving them 3 options. You didn't want to go yes or no because you'd get smoked.
People got passionate about it. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that was cool. We love your interaction, by the way. I'm just giving Fro shit.
All right, so we got 4 questions here. We have about 20 minutes to get through this. Okay, so Factory 517, this is our listener question. So why is there not a professional riders union established to protect riders from unfair punishments and fines from the AMA or Feld Entertainment? Would with accountability, as well as getting former pros on committees to create and adjust the rules? Would it help? So first off, Feld is the promoter, so they don't set any of the fines. This is purely AMA and FIM that handle the governing part of it. So they're not really part of this. And then, so once again, this sort of riders union thing pops up.
It's honestly, we don't have enough time to talk about it. I think I can bring someone in who can speak intelligently about it. There's a lot of moving parts. I don't know that everyone would. Well, first of all, if you sat out, you'd be in violation of your contract with the OEM. You're independent.
With your team, essentially, yeah.
Yeah. You're independent contractors. You're not employees, right?
Yep.
So that's one stumbling block.
Well, plus, let's compare this to Major League Baseball. Players play for the league. Their contracts are with the league. I don't know the intricacies of it, but they are part of a league. They have that, and all of our riders are all independent contractors with the teams that they ride on. And
exactly. You got one that plays for a league, and then our deal is independent contractors. I mean, like I said, we don't have enough time to talk about it. I understand what you guys are saying. Clearly, there's been people that have pushed to do that. It's easier said than done. At the end of the day, honestly, calling it like it is, real talk, 447 right here. I think that if you tried to do a riders union, one rider's going to stab you in the back, and he's going to go out there and kick ass while everyone. We aren't all unified. That is the problem.
Well,
straight, 110%.
Well, and there was a perfect situation was at Vegas Supercross in 1995. Where half of us decided to ride the main event under artificial lighting. Well, all of it's artificial lighting, but they had to use some makeshift lights, and part of the guys didn't. And that's a really great example. I mean, I ended up essentially in this situation, I would have crossed the line and went and rode. I won the main event, but I also felt differently than the other riders. So it's like, who's right or who's wrong here? And that was in the situation of a union, everybody would have been unified. And within the union, somebody would have not gotten their way and somebody would have, right? Somebody votes yay, somebody votes nay. But yeah.
Right. I
Yep.
mean, honestly, real talk. That's, I
Yep.
mean, it's just, we're not unified enough. And until that happens, it's going to be hard to have a riders union and a lot of other things.
Yeah, and we
besides that.
talked about
that's a small part of it.
Yeah, and we talked about the punishment and fines before. It's kind of, I don't know. I feel
So
like,
is that, you won that night, right? You won that night?
yes, that was my
Only
first main
reason
event.
you didn't win is because McGrath wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. And Henry and Lamson, I think Kadrowski, LaRocco. Yeah, there were a bunch of dudes. Hey, I made like 50 grand that night, dude. I got in the record book. So I felt that it was good enough to win. I mean, good enough to ride. Hell, I was practicing at Star West every Tuesday night for free under less lighting with other riders on the track. And, so I made the decision to go ahead and ride. And I didn't think that I just wasn't going to leave the fans hanging. I'm like, to me, it's
You're
fine.
a people's champ, man.
People's champ right here. All right, let's move on. All right, okay, Motocross 315. As a lifelong fan and rider, after the wreck in Seattle, who pays for all the medical costs that Chad Reed will encounter during his recovery? Is there medical insurance for pro riders or that pro riders carry? Thanks, Shaka. Yeah. Give me some of these.
I did. You were looking down at your paper. Dude, that time in Hawaii was so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So these surface. So we're in Hawaii. We're gonna stray
The
for a
baby
second.
shocks.
Yeah,
Never
so
baby shocks. You can't.
so-
It's not like this.
Yeah, so we come in like, hey, what's up? They're like, yeah, what's up? And we're like, yeah, what's up? And they're going. So all the local, like all the real surfers and everybody, they're over there. They literally would just make your hand like the laziest sort of hang loose sign that you can give and give it a yeah. And that's what they would do. We're like, hey, what's up, dude? We're like, they're like, yeah. Like the little fingers barely even out.
Oh, dude, it's lazy. Yeah.
And so we just kept mocking them and having fun with it. That was awesome. All right, so medical insurance. Riders would have to carry their own health insurance. They do have health insurance through the AMA. Some riders have either a long-term care or a permanent total disability. There's a lot of insurance coverages out there, but it's kind of split between what they have with their license and entry to the race,
right.
which covers if they're on site for the race. I don't know if it's still the same, but it used to be about 80% was covered by your entry in the AMA. And then your personal health insurance, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, whatever it is, would cover the remaining 20%. Sound good?
Well said.
All right. So as you know, that's about where we're at right now. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. So Luke Natoli Luke says, what's your take on James Stewart's comments that riders of today don't have the win-at-all-cost attitude of guys like himself, you, or others back in the era? I think he's right. I didn't have a win-at-all-cost attitude, so I don't think that was directed towards me.
Right.
Yeah. Did you have a win-at-all-cost
I mean, I was just reading it some more, reading it over. I definitely race scared sometimes. So win at all cost. No, I never had that. It might have seemed like that. I was extremely competitive, but win at all costs means jump something in Supercross or on outdoors that if you bust your ass, you might not walk away from it and you hurt yourself. I was a little more calculated than that, even though it sometimes didn't seem as so. But there was a line for me, without a doubt. Was my line a little bit higher? Probably. Mm-hmm. But James, he said it in his interview that it was basically all or nothing. The older you get, you naturally, that win at all costs kind of goes away. You become more calculated. You're a smarter rider. You've learned. You have several years of learning and experience. That winning at all costs can get you in trouble. And for me, it was more about championships, not necessarily about per race wins.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, everyone has a different theory and approach racing a different way. And, you know, Stu's was, I mean, dude, he'd send it, you know, and honestly, that was my strategy to beat the guy a lot of times. I knew I was never going to be faster than James.
Pushing your
It's impossible.
Zone. Well, you would push your comfort zone, but he didn't have, like, that zone didn't have a cap on it. He would just go faster.
That's right.
Yeah, and I mean, there were very few riders that could ride in that place. But I don't think many riders can get there. We have this like a safety mechanism that keeps you from getting like in that place because you know, oh shit, like I could get hurt if this goes badly.
That's right. So, yeah, win at all costs definitely wasn't mine. Was I aggressive? Of course I was. Did I take chances? Yes, but there was some calculations going on for sure.
Yeah. The only time that I can remember, and I thought about this as I was typing this out, I'm like, man, when did I ever just go, screw it, WFO, I'm going for it. And the only time that comes to mind was Steel City in 96, first moto. McGrath and I are battling for the championship, and he passes me over that double in the pro section. Squaring back up, and I come around the outside of this sweeper, and there was just a single, and you jumped, and then there was just a bunch of mud ruts. And I just, fuck it, I'm going for it. I just pinned it, and I jumped, and I almost landed like in front of him. And I remember him saying, you know, like a comment of Jeremy saying, man, he just went wide open and just bonsai'd and almost landed on me. And I'm like, yeah, I did. And that was that point of the championship where, I mean, it was the final race of the season, and it was kind of like a tug of war. That moment is when the championship was won. That was on the first lap of the first moto, and the whole rest of the day, I knew that I controlled the rest of the day.
Well, that experience and that feeling mentally that you had right then and there, that's what I was talking about, and I want our listeners to understand that, in my opinion, that was the moment between Cooper Webb and Marvin Musquin. Yep. That moment right there.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah, you took command of the race, and that's right. You sent it, you know, and granted now it was just a single jump that you launched. It wasn't some gnarly quad. Yeah. And if you cased it, they're going to be loading you up. So,
well, they didn't have quads in my day.
That was a moment. You knew in your mind something clicked that, dude, it's now or never for this title. The light switch came on, and you're like, screw it. This is mine, and I'm taking it to the house.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I think the first main event was. Most of the time when you have an arch rival like that, there becomes a defining moment in the series where you guys square off and one guy takes charge. And that's what I think happened this past weekend.
Well, there's still 4 more races, did you say? Mm-hmm. And they're all outdoors?
Yeah, four all outdoors.
It's going to rain at
Nashville,
one of them.
Denver, the Meadowlands, and Vegas. So
we could have snow in 3 of those.
Well, remember Cooper Webb won that 250 championship. When you were up in the booth, I was down in the trenches, bro, doing trackside analyst stuff. Remember, it was raining in Vegas, and you were giving me shit. Like anytime there was mud, Jeff would be an asshole and just give me shit. You know, how's it down there? And just, you know, that's okay.
Oh yeah, that's when we're in like a commercial break on TV, and we're all talking to each other. It'd be Jenny and Ricky and whatnot, and we're like, hey, Ralph, do you want any more shrimp cocktail? Or are you good? No, Ralph's like, no, I'm good on the shrimp cocktail. You guys, are you bringing ice cream sundaes? Okay. Hey, how is it down there on the track? It's cold, rainy, totally shitty, right?
Yeah, especially in Vegas. I'm like, dude, seriously.
At least you could wear a hat. The girls are always like their hair is always, right. Yeah. No, that's great.
All
right. So we got one last question here. Tara Harrison says, Ricky, quote, the GOAT, always says guys with long legs have an advantage in the whoops. What's the advantage for having shorter legs like Ricky.
I don't think that I ever had an advantage of having shorter legs through the whoops.
Well, that's not what she's saying.
Okay. Shorter legs through the whoops, I think it's easier to jump through them with shorter legs. Blitzing them, obviously, longer legs.
What about the rest of the track?
What's that?
So what about the rest of the track?
The advantages of having shorter legs would be when it's ruddier, I think. And then jumping through the whoops is a little bit easier. As far as standing on the bike and things of that nature, it's probably a little bit easier to do that. You're more compact, not as much stuff to move around. Through the whoops, the reason that I say this, that long legs have the advantage, and Jeff, you know this, is because they're able to stand up. The riders are able to stand up. They have more room between the bottom of their seat and their butt, and can kind of let the bike work underneath them. They have a lot more room in between there. The seat doesn't hit them in the rear and bounce their feet off the foot pegs, and that's plain and simple. That's the advantage there. It makes a considerable difference. Now, there are guys that are smaller, and I talk about Blake Baggett. He carries a lot of entry speed into the whoops, and a lot of times he is one of the better guys for the whoops, and he's not the tallest guy on the circuit. But those are far and few between. I feel like when you have longer legs, it doesn't mean you can be the best through the whoops, but your chances of falling down are a lot less because of the leverage.
Yeah. Well, certainly two of the best ever when it comes to that are Malcolm and James Stewart. James isn't super tall. Is he 5'10" maybe?
I don't know.
And Malcolm's
5'9", 5'10". I mean,
boy.
Malcolm's.
And yeah, he's not afraid to go through there.
You want to do some? Go watch some YouTube this afternoon to our listeners, and after you watch this podcast, by the way.
Well, we're at the end of the podcast, so they will have been listening right now.
Yeah. So, sorry, I said any. Okay, I'm sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
No, continue.
No, go watch how fast James Stewart was in the whoops. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible, dude.
Hey, there were times that his front wheel would miss not one but two whoops, and he would just.
You and I had this conversation. The reason we feel like Jeff and I feel like James didn't crash that much in the whoops when he would miss whoops with his front end is because he was going so fast that the speed of where it would cause you to rotate the bike to go forward and endo he was going too fast, so he would dip the front by missing a whoop, and it would just pop the front end back up. There's several times that he missed it with the front end, and then boom, the front end will pop back up. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, and he, I think early in his career, he was very, very comfortable having the front fork setup, the compression really stiff. And he had that ability to ride that bike with it stiff like that. And you tended to try to find some balance to where the bike had some weight transfer and a little bit softer in the front. It goes across the start gate a little better, this and that. But
corners, obviously.
Corners way better. But now that I feel like all the guys, their bikes are pretty damn stiff right now as it is, right? I don't know. I feel like with the shorter legs, definitely in the whoops and the turns, you know that when that space between the handlebar and the ground is not as much, I feel like the shorter legs are a little better there. And I've said it before. I think you get over about a size 10 or 11 boot, you definitely in the ruts and things, you have much more opportunity for your boot to catch and twist your ankle or knee or something like that.
Yeah. I was looking for a picture in my phone about the time that you were telling the Baby Shocks story about you. I have a picture from when we were there.
Oh, dude.
You guys aren't going to believe this. You ready? But Jeff was sleeping.
Sleeping?
Yeah, you were sleeping. I'm looking for it, though.
Oh, you got another sleepy picture? Oh, that's when we were driving down the east side of
Yeah, we had to go around the long way. This is the picture right here.
You're an asshole. Hey, and then right after that, okay.
There you go. Everybody see that?
All right, the gloves are off, motherfucker. Okay. All right. Hey, and then so I'm driving, right? We had a great 4 days. We charged it the whole time. So we're driving to the airport and we're taking the long way around what would be the east side of Oahu, and this asshole slams on the brakes while I'm sleeping, and I do one of those. What happened? What's happened? What's happened? And you're laughing.
And he just looks over
hey,
at me.
But wasn't
and I
who
just
else
go,
was driving next to us? Was it somebody else driving next to us? Rusty?
Yeah, yes. Actually,
Rusty
they ended up
Lindsay?
being fans, right? They're in the military, I think.
No, I thought it was Rusty and
Oh,
Lindsay
that's right.
Malinowski.
It was Rusty Malinowski and his wife, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, all right.
Dude, and anyhow, going back to that picture that I showed you, anyhow, I slammed the brakes on. He's like, oh, and he woke up, and I just went like this. You.
No, dude, that was too much finger.
Oh, was it too much?
Oh, way too much. I seen it. You have to not even see it. So for all of our buddies, all of our surfer buddies, Sonny and everybody that
that was a good time.
Barefoot playing golf, that was good.
Dude, JH
might have got overserved a couple times.
Curly keeps trying to call my phone right now.
Does he not know that we're working? Hey,
clearly
maybe he's got us a sponsor for this show. Maybe he's got a sponsor for us.
Let's hope so.
Well, we're gonna wrap this thing up, so call him afterwards, and then maybe we've got a sponsor for this thing, and we don't have to pay for it.
So our surprise, when's Dean Wilson coming on?
I'm doing a special episode up there in Denver.
That's gonna be nice.
So we're gonna do 2 episodes that week. So hopefully you can get down with your TV obligations and catch the tail end of that on Friday night. So
be awesome,
dude. It's coming down to it. Shit's getting intense in Monster Energy Supercross. It was a really fun race to watch. I think you did a great job once again. I was really impressed with how the team is working now. This many seasons in, and NBC and all that working together. It's super fun, and the riders are delivering.
They are.
Because I don't know which way any of these championships are going to go.
No, you don't have the trust just yet in Cooper Webb that you would have in like Ryan Villapoto or the Dunge. If he closes it out, then obviously you will. He has the best shot to close it out. As far as the East Coast, I think we have a good idea of who's going to wrap that up. But the West Coast, man, is it exciting. It's a great part to be a part of Monster Energy Supercross. If you're a fan or you work in the industry, we are very fortunate. These guys are riding at an incredibly high level right now.
Yeah, and then like you said, that was a great point. The weather can come into play. We've got at least 3 races that have the potential for Mother Nature to step in and spin everything out. So
you mean rain on the parade?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll be watching from home. So any of the listeners, I'll be fine. Ricky will be in the broadcast booth. So in case you guys were worried about us, we'll be all right. Daniel and Will be down there in the shit if it rains. So anyway, hey, anything else, dude? We're going to wrap this thing up.
No, thanks to all the listeners. Hopefully you guys are enjoying. Keep sending the questions this way. It's a lot of fun. And we'll keep trying to tell good stories. Hope you guys like my picture of Jeff when he was passed out. I know that he just likes to sleep. He likes to sleep.
I get a little sleepy, and especially at my age. So I do a little meditating, but now I'm starting to think that every time I meditate, I just fall asleep. So it's not really like I'm meditating. I'm really not like this. I end up I wake up all I did was take a nap like an old man.
Hey, who are you going for NCAA basketball?
Oh, dude. Who's there?
Do you watch? What sports do you watch, bro?
I watch
other than soccer.
Premier League football and Premier League football. And
soccer?
Premier League football. No. I watch the MLS too. My boys at LA Galaxy are crushing it, starting off good.
Have you made it to any games yet?
I did watch, was it Kentucky Auburn?
Yeah, that was a good game. No, Duke Auburn. No, Kentucky Auburn.
Kentucky Auburn. It came down to it. Kentucky gave up the tie at the end, and then Auburn comes back to win it in overtime. That was a really good game.
Then Michigan State got beat Duke.
Yeah, I watched part of that game too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I text Stanton.
Is Kansas still in it?
I told him NCAA basketball is stupid, and he said, "Shut up," and all this fun stuff.
Is Kansas in it, or are they out? KU.
They're out. I think are they out? I don't know.
All right. Well, good luck to all the teams in the Final Four.
How's our boy
make
Beaker?
It a tie.
How's our boy Beaker's Lakers doing?
Oh, dude, he's bumming. He's like
Full
next year. He's in the next year mode though now.
Full Debbie.
Yeah.
Well, this is like his Niners. Garoppolo's back, so he's amped about that.
All I know is that Liverpool won against Tottenham last week. They shouldn't have won. My guy Mo Salah was offsides for the final goal, but they won, and they're leading the league, and it's coming down to it. My son's team is Man City. Jagger, who you've seen on here last week, he is Man City, and I am Liverpool, and we are going just game to game all the way to the finish. About 6 games left. Going to be good. That's what I watch.
Cool.
All right. Hey, thanks, everybody,
Check
for listening.
Check it out on all your favorite podcast sites.
Yep. At Talk447 on Twitter. You can send us your questions there. And, of course, at Ricky Carmichael, at MIG47. Miguel has teed up the Andrew McKeague Band and our soundtrack for This Old Lie. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We ain't coming through. Here
you go.
Living this soul life. Thanks, everybody.